Everyone, welcome to my channel. So in this video, I'm going to go through the solution for this question, and also I'm going to explain this piece of code. At the end of this video, I'm going to cover the general step we should follow in the real code interview. So before we start the real content, I would really appreciate that if you can help subscribe this channel, because it can help me to grow. So thanks a lot. Given a positive integer n, so find the smallest integer which has exactly the same digits existing in the integer n and is greater in value than n. So if no such positive integer exists, then we are going to return -1. Note that the returned integer should be a 32-bit integer if there is a valid answer, but it doesn't fit in 32-bit integer, then we are going to return -1. Alright, so let's see, for example 1 we have n as 1, 2, so output is going to be 2, 1, which is fine. So for 2, 1, there's no next greater number using 2 and 1 to form the number, so we are going to return -1. So constraint says it is positive and it is a int 32 positive number. Okay, so the solution is pretty straightforward, so I would say. So for example, let me take this one as an example. Let's say it is 2, 3, 4, let's say 6, 9, 8. So essentially we are first going to find the transition point. So how we define the transition point? So we start from the end towards the beginning. So if the current number is smaller than the previous number, then we call it the transition point. So we compare 8 and 9 because 9 is larger than 8, so it's not the transition point. We see 6 is smaller than 9, so this is the transition point because this number is larger than the number that comes after that. The digit 6 is larger than the digit that comes after it, which is 9. So we call this as a transition point. And starting from the transition point, we are trying to find the smallest number that is larger than the digit at the transition point that comes after the transition point. So for this specific example, we see that 9 is larger than 6, so potentially it could be a candidate, but actually 8 is the smallest digit that comes after the transition point, and also it has a digit that is larger than the digit at the transition point. So we see this one as index. So what we are going to do next step is we are going to swap the digit at the transition point and the digit at the index. So here we have 8 and 6. So this is the next step. And the next step is we are going to reverse all the digits that comes after the transition point. So here we are going to swap 6 and 9. So 6 and 9. And finally we are going to return this number, which is 2, 3, 4, 8, 6, 9, which is the next greater number with all the digits in this number, and also it can form a greater number larger than this, the next greater number larger than this. So having said that, let's go through this piece of code. So we define two helper functions. The swap is going to swap the character at string at index 1 and character at index 2 in this string builder. This is swap. A reverse is we are going to reverse the digits between index 1 and index 2 within the string builder. So that's the reverse helper function. So let's see how the implementation of this one, which is a major function. So if none is smaller than 10, so we are going, of course we are going to return 1. This is kind of like an we can say it is an edge case, but it can also be covered by our general logic here. So we have the string builder, we pass the integer into a string, then we get a string builder. To have a string builder, which it would be easier for us to change the characters within the string builder. So first of all, we find the transition point. So we start at the end, and if the previous number is smaller than the current digit, then we are going to break it. So we find the transition point. If at the end index is equal to 0, then it means there's no transition point. So we are going to return -1. otherwise we are going to have the transition index as index -1. Then we are trying to find the number that comes after the digit that comes after the transition point, which is larger than the digit in the transition point, and it is the smallest one within the candidates. So let's define the smallest index as index. So here we start from the transition index +1, which is index actually. So if the current digit is larger than the transition point, and also if the current current index, so the current digit is smaller or equal to the previous one we find that is larger than the digit at the transition point, then we are going to update the smallest index. So after this while loop, we should be able to find the smallest digit that comes after the transition point, and it also so we are going so after this while loop, we will be able to find the digit that comes after the transition point, and the digit should be larger than the digit at the transition point, and it is the smallest one among all of the candidates. So after that, we are going to do a swap about this transition point and the smallest index, and then we are going to do a reverse for all the digits after the transition point. And then finally, if we can parse the string for the string builder successfully, then we return it. Otherwise, we are going to return -1 because it is out of the range. So that's it for this. I think that's it for this question. The runtime is going to be all of let's say all of m. M is the number of the digits within n, but actually it is a constant thing. So why I say it's constant? Because it is no more than 32 digits, so it is a constant. It is constant for this piece of code regarding the runtime. So that's it for this coding question. So regarding the process we should follow in the coding interview, so I would say the first step, usually you need to understand the question. So if there's anything unclear, think about the question you're going to ask, and also bring up the question to the interviewer, and also at the same time think about some edge cases. So after that, you're going to find a solution, have a good discussion with the interviewer, justify the runtime, the efficiency by doing some runtime space analysis, and also after this part, you should get an agreement with the interviewer about the solution you're going to proceed to do some coding. So for coding part, we cared about correctness, the readability, and also the speed is a factor to be considered because limitation on the time of the interview. And also at the end, don't forget to do some testing. So testing is also a very important part. So if you can follow those steps and do it in a smooth way, I don't think there's any reason you can fail in a coding interview. So that's it for this question. If you have any question about about whatever things you have concern, feel free to leave some comments below. If you like this video, please help subscribe to this channel. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.